Yes, we're back. It's episode 42 of the Hibs Ramble. I'm Liam today. I'm joined by Shaun. No one else, just Shaun. Just me and you, Shaun. How you doing, mate?
Are you just Liam today? Did you have a different persona for every other days?
Yesterday, I was somebody different, but it's not information I would prefer to disclose at this moment in time.
No, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, I've been away a while, so first pod in a good couple of weeks, so good to be back.
Glad to hear it. I felt that we kind of missed the boat a little bit on Monday. But we're going to record on Monday. But one, it was my birthday, and two, my missus is just about to pop with our son. So it's kind of touch and go at the moment. She could go during this podcast, but listeners, ramblers, do not worry because the podcast will finish. She'll get an Uber to the hospital, and we'll sit and finish the podcast talking about St Mirren and all that shite. But yeah. Let's get straight into it. We've managed to get into the top six, Shaun. We spoke about this a wee bit last time. Oh no, you never spoke about it last time. You weren't on last time, were you?
No, two great episodes, I think, though. Well done to the boys. Cracking episodes.
Thanks very much, mate. But no, so we got into the top six with a draw at St Johnstone. We spoke about the St Johnstone game last time. But it's St Mirren up next now that the fixtures have been released. And actually, first and foremost, what did you think of the order of the fixtures that we got?
I'm happy with the order. I think it's probably the best outcome, I think. By the time we play Celtic, they'll have wrapped up the league. Rangers won't have anything to play for either. So you don't want to be playing Celtic last because obviously then you're playing them away and they've got the parade and all the nonsense that comes with that. So you don't really want to be playing the Old Firm in the last two fixtures just because of the quality that they have. So I think having them where they are is good. It allows us to try and get 3 points on the board by beating St Mirren first, put a marker down. We'll obviously talk a little bit more about what could and couldn't happen if we do or do not win that later on. But it could set us up for another 2 or 3 must-wins against obviously St Mirren, and then if we win that, we'll have another must-win, another cup final against Aberdeen. So and the juiciness of an Edinburgh derby to finish above them and take their European spot off them is what we want. So let's hope that happens.
I think it's pretty exciting to have the order that the fixtures are in. I mean, with all due respect to St Mirren, they are the weakest of the 6 teams in the top 6. I mean that in no disrespect. They earned their place in the top 6 and they've got their own merit. I think they've played really, really well this season. But our best chance of finishing one of those European spots meant that we needed to start off with a win. And the fact that we have got St Mirren and Hearts have got Celtic and Aberdeen have got Rangers, I think is a big favour for us. I mean, it could be a big favour for St Mirren. We're equal on points at the moment, aren't we? So they'll be thinking the exact same thing as we are. They're in the exact same boat as us. So although it'll probably be, I mean, on paper, statistically, the easiest game of the 5. It's still not going to be an easy fixture because they are striving to get into Europe as well. So
yeah, I think the way that the fixtures play out for the other teams as well, obviously Michael Beale will be wanting a reaction against Aberdeen. Aberdeen are travelling down to Ibrox, so not the best.
The record isn't very good there either.
No, and then obviously Celtic clinch the title
at Tynecastle, yeah.
So they'll obviously be looking to do that. So you've got 2 Old Firm teams, or the Old Firm teams in general, that are going to be looking to go all out and appease their fans. So I think that works out quite well. And then obviously, if we do beat St Mirren then have Hearts at home. So if we do beat St Mirren, you're then, for St Mirren to stand any chance to then try to catch us, they're going to have to then go and beat Hearts. So they're then going to have to go all out to try and beat Hearts, while we then play Aberdeen, which I think the 2 fixtures are going to say a lot about how the top 6 is going to pan out, the first 2 round of fixtures. So
yeah, for sure. I think it's going to be a really interesting end to the season in the top 6 and the bottom 6, maybe even more so the bottom 6. But no, we're only focusing on Hibs at the moment. let's talk about starting lineups, Sean. On Saturday, St Mirren at home.
Yep.
Would you make any changes to the team that started against St Johnstone? Of course, we've got Jago back after his appeal. Was how would you describe that? His appeal was successful. That's the word.
Yeah, I think I don't know the ins and outs of the appeal process. I don't know if they could have maybe just removed it altogether and then not downgraded it to a yellow. I don't know if that's even an option.
I don't know. I think they'll probably try to save face with the VAR and the referee saying that, oh, maybe he got a wee bit right, basically, half right. But that starting lineup was David Marshall, Lewis Stevenson, Will Fish, Paul Hanlon, CG Egan Riley, Jimmy Jago, Ellie Yuan, Joe Newell, Jake Doyle-Hayes, Chris Cadden and Kevin Nisbet. Would you make any changes from that 11?
I mean, hearing the lineup makes me want to make a change to try and make it more attacking in some way. Whether that be Jago or Newell or Doyle-Hayes coming out and maybe another attacker coming in. But the way that I know the performance wasn't the greatest at St Mirren, and obviously we weren't helped with the 10 men. But I have... St
Johnstone.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said St Mirren.
St Mirren. I've just got St Mirren on my mind.
Don't worry.
You know? It's been a couple of weeks and I'm a bit rusty. With the red card, it obviously hindered us a lot. David Marshall had a really good second half, albeit he was at fault for the first goal. I would like to see us take the game to St Mirren and try and maybe get another attacker on the park. But that being said, that midfield three done really, really well against Hearts. Were phenomenal against Hearts, and we were hindered, in our last game as well. So it would be quite good to see them get a run of games together. I've enjoyed Cadden being further forward. I think it's freed him up a little bit as well. And I think it's maybe relaxed him a little bit more in regards to the pressures that he has defensively. So I've said for a couple of weeks now, I want Kukarevich and Nisbet on the same pitch. Whether that's a possibility or not, I don't know, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, I think it's Kukarevich played well the last time he played against St Mirren. Obviously, he bagged a goal at Easter Road. Did he get two, or did he score one? Oh, he got one.
He scored one. He got one that was chopped off for offside.
Yeah, so he did. But no, I think, and I've not really got anything to base this on, but I would love to see McCurdy getting a start. I think his pace would cause them problems. I don't think they've got an awful lot of pace down in their fullback positions, but I think, I don't know, it's probably just a bias from me to want McCurdy.
McCurdy played in the away game, that's when he got injured. So and he was quite direct then, and he was causing the St Mirren backline some problems with obviously the pace that he had and getting in behind and stuff like him and Ellie Yuan were quite good together. I've noticed that seems to be a reoccurring theme against St Mirren, that in the wider areas on a bigger pitch, they can't cope with that. Yeah, it does hurt them. So I don't know if we'll stick to our 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, whatever variation of it it'll be, or if we'll maybe go to a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2, because we had that shape when we beat them 3-0 with Boyle and Kukarevich up top, and it worked really well. We got a lot of space in behind, and every time I seem to watch St Mirren when they're away from home, a lot of teams do seem to be able to exploit the full back areas because they predominantly play with three at the back. But their back three is normally quite narrow, which allows us to get in behind. That's kind of how we ended up getting the goal away to St Mirren.
Yeah,
as there was a lot of space out wide. Henderson played into Ellie Yuan, and then obviously we got the goal. So I think if we exploit them down their wider areas, like I said, they're going to want to try and win it just as much as we are. So I think they'll be trying to get the 3 points and maybe not just try and not lose. And if we do that, I think we'll stand a real good chance of getting the 3 points.
I think it's one of these ones that they're going to have to come and actually play football. Compared to if it was just before the split and a team was kind of languishing down the bottom and they're just trying, like you say, not to lose.
Yeah,
they're going to have to come out at us because they need it. We need it. They need the points. Their last 5 games, actually, they've won 2, they've drawn 1, and they've lost 2. They beat Hearts 2-0 at Tynecastle, Livy 3-0 at Love Street. They got beat by Rangers 5-2 at Ibrox, and Kelly beat them just before the split 2-0 at Love Street, and their draw was 1-1 against Dundee United. A lot better than our last 5 games. We've won 1, lost 3 and drawn 1 of the last 5, obviously beating Hearts, lost against Motherwell, Celtic and Dundee United, and drew against St Johnstone. It doesn't make for great reading. I'm not too sure how we managed to get ourselves into the top 6.
We struggled, that's for sure. We crawled over the line in the end, didn't
we? But do you think that the break is giving us maybe a little bit of time to reset, try and get ourselves back onto the form that we saw in the middle of the season?
I think so. I think it's annoying the amount of breaks that we've had, and it's been a stop-start season, and they always seem to come at kind of the wrong time, either when we've got a bit of momentum as well. So I'm hoping so. Like I said, more time on the grass for the squad can only do us good, especially after the last performance as well. We are quite streaky, so to say. I've seen that bandied around quite a lot, and it is correct. So I mean, hopefully we can put a run together. I think in the top 6, it's more about momentum more than anything else. You want to finish the season strong instead of start the season strong. In my opinion, do you know what I mean? If you look at Hearts, for example, they obviously started it strong and have been falling off. I'm not saying we're finishing strong because we're literally crawling over the line here. But if we can, pick up 2-3 wins maybe and a draw against the Old Firm, that'll guarantee us a very, very healthy position in the league.
I think. Well, how many points do you think is that we need? Do you think 6 is enough?
The thing is, I'm actually quietly concerned about St Mirren.
6 as long as we beat St Mirren.
I think we need more than that, because if you watch the Old Firm game at the weekend, there seemed to be a lot of Rangers players that slowly started to down tools in the recent Old Firm games. So obviously they don't have anything to play for. Yes, I think Michael Beale will get a reaction, and yes, I understand that Michael Beale's had a pretty much impeccable league record since coming in. But he's going to be, or I think he should be, trying to try things between now and the end of the season with the players that he's still going to have at the club. So they could potentially be a bit all over the place between now and the end of the season, which could allow teams...
No Kent, maybe.
Yeah, exactly, which could allow teams like us or St Mirren, when they play them, or
to make a point here and there.
Yeah, maybe not Aberdeen, because I think you'll get a reaction this weekend, and I think Rangers will beat Aberdeen regardless of how good Aberdeen have been. And then you've got Hearts and stuff like that, so they still have to play our rivals in regards to the European spots. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if St Mirren went and nicked a point off both the Old Firm, because Celtic will have not nothing to play for, but they'll have won the league and they'll be concentrating on the Scottish Cup. And I know under Ange they're relentless, but I just think they might, especially against us,
because it's not like they're going for an invincible season again, because they've already been beaten. It wouldn't be a disaster if they win against Hearts and tie up the league. Then it's not going to be a disaster if they drop points between now and the end of the season, as long as they win the cup final. So I think you're massively right on your point. I've got here down, if this is assuming we beat St Mirren, Celtic beat Hearts and Rangers beat Aberdeen, it puts us a point behind Hearts in 4th.
Yeah. It
puts us 6 behind Aberdeen. Do you think it's a little bit out of our reach to go? Maybe we could nick 3rd?
We would need literally everything to go in our favour to finish 3rd, which would include pretty much Aberdeen losing every single game. But at the same time, we can't have Aberdeen losing every single game, because then that gives Hearts and St Mirren victories. So you're wanting Aberdeen to lose to the Old Firm and then draw the other 2 games and then get beat by us. So at that point, they're then still picking up 2 points, and we would then still need to then catch them by beating. Yeah. We would then need to beat at least one of the Old Firm, as well as beating St Mirren, Hearts and Aberdeen. So it would be a huge ask. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. So I think 4th is obviously doable, because if we do win, and you would imagine Celtic will clinch the title at the weekend, so that'll take us to 1. It's just a case of what happens in that Rangers-Aberdeen game. What kind of Aberdeen side are we going to get? Because Pittodrie is a very difficult place for us to go. And if they're still flying and we're still a bit all over the place, or if we fall, if we struggle to get a win at the weekend, it then makes next weekend even harder. So again, it goes back to my point earlier on about another must-win, another cup final. So yeah,
it's a difficult one really, because like we've just spoke there 5 minutes ago about having St Mirren as the first game is an advantage to us. But on the flip side is, and I don't want, this obviously isn't a podcast about Hearts, but Hearts having Celtic as their first game. I don't know when they've got Rangers. But if that was us and we were in Hearts' position and we had Celtic first game and we got at least one of the Old Firm out of the way early, does that give you a better chance to then finish a little bit stronger? Or would you rather have the Old Firm at the end? Like
I personally wouldn't want the Old Firm at the end, because they are going to be your toughest fixtures. So therefore, you're not really expecting to pick up 3 points anyway. That's for sure. I know Hearts play Rangers at Ibrox the same night. It's the midweek game on the 24th when we play Celtic. Celtic will obviously already have the title wrapped up at that point. We have the advantage of being at home. So you're then hoping at that point we can maybe even pick up a point and hope that Hearts lose.
I lose. Sorry.
We'll see. But then at that point, Aberdeen are then playing St Mirren. So that's the beauty of the top 6, where everybody's playing everybody. So you need to be on your best game and give 100% and be on top form just to get by in the top 6. Never mind, to make, to cover ground.
You would imagine that, that the players will be proper up for it and be looking to drag us into 4th. I know that 5th, if Celtic win the cup, will get us a European spot, but I think, is it the second qualifying round of the Conference League that you get? I'm not too sure if you go into the 3rd qualifying round of the playoff round. If you finish 4th,
I think it's the same as last. I think it's the same as last year. So you would go into the 3rd, and then you
3rd qualifying round. So then you would need
finish
to finish
4th. Yeah. Whereas,
is that for the Conference League or the Europa League?
Conference League. The only person that would get any chance of the Europa would be whoever finishes.
Sorry, not Hearts. Hearts are going to finish 3rd. Liam, come on.
Whoever finishes 3rd, and if Celtic win the cup, I believe if Celtic don't win the cup and Inverness win it, then 5th then doesn't get Europe and the spots then fall down. So then Aberdeen wouldn't get the guaranteed group stage, and it would be Inverness that would get the guaranteed.
And 4th would get what 5th would get if Celtic win a cup.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense there. But I've got it down here. It's a straight question. Does a win on Saturday guarantee us Europe?
No, I don't think it guarantees us. I think we need to get more points against other teams. So.
It's a great start. It's a great start if we win on Saturday.
We need to win. We definitely need to win, because then if we don't win in St Mirren, are we level with St Mirren? Is that right? I'm sure we're 44 or something. Or
let me just double check right now.
So
sing a song, Shaun, while I look this up.
So I think if St Mirren do win, we're then obviously not only needing to catch them, we're then obviously still needing to beat Hearts, and then you're needing to beat Aberdeen, and then you're definitely needing to at least beat one of the Old Firm, as well as maybe pick up a draw against Old Firm to then counteract the fact that you've already lost to St Mirren. So
from 3rd down to 6th, it's Aberdeen on 53, Hearts on 48, Hibs on 44, St Mirren on 44. We've got 8 goals on St Mirren.
I think the best thing possible for us is the fact that Aberdeen actually have that cushion to Hearts. So Aberdeen are realistically not sitting comfortable, but they pretty much know that if they just kind of continue the way that the Hearts aren't going to chase them, considering the trajectory that Hearts are on at the moment. So I think the fact that Hearts are playing Celtic, and realistically Celtic's last meaningful game, only benefits us as well. So, and the fact that they're playing the hardest team in the top 6, and realistically we're playing the easiest team in the top 6, so it only works in our favour. the fact that they were then playing Aberdeen, who then have a cushion on Hearts at that point, you're then hoping that we can maybe pick something up against Aberdeen as well. While St Mirren, if we, like I said earlier on, if we do beat St Mirren are then having to go to Hearts are going to St Mirren, away to St Mirren. St Mirren are predominantly really strong at home and will be pushing to beat Hearts. So I think it works out better our fixtures than Hearts fixtures, if I'm honest. So I would rather have what we have than what they have.
No, fair enough. And just to finish up on the St Mirren game here, the last stat that I saw was St Mirren have given away the second most penalties this season with 11. I'm not too sure if we'll manage to get a penalty on Saturday. We actually got one of our penalties against St Mirren in the 3-0 win at Easter Road earlier in the season. We've only had 4. We've scored all 4 of them. I wonder if surely we're due a penalty against someone, or surely someone's due a red card against us. It feels like that long ago
that we used to get all the penalties. Us and Rangers used to always get penalties, but
that was last season, when Boyle just used to fall down in the box.
A lot of them were down to maybe Martin Boyle's pace and behind and getting brought down and stuff like that. So without him, we've obviously won less penalties.
Well, here's hoping, if you're listening, Mr. Referee, for Saturday, you can give us a penalty if you want. We wouldn't mind it. Shaun, your prediction. I know Craig would be unhappy that we're doing predictions on a match day minus 3-4.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Hibernian.
I think it'll be a cracker. I think it'll be a really, really good game, and I'm going to go 3-2 Hibs. I think Hibs will edge it, and I think it'll be a really, really good game. I'm hoping we're going to get a top 6 like the top 6 we had under Neil Lennon when we had McGinn and Georg and Allen and stuff. So I'm just hoping for a few good games and a few wins, lots of goals, and some Harry McCurdy celebrations. That's what I want.
You might get one eventually. You might get one eventually.
Maybe when he's signed for Hartlepool or whoever is going to play for next. But yeah, anyway, a wee change of pace, Shaun. There's been a couple of transfer rumours flying about social media the last few days. I've got 3 here. One that I saw this morning. It was an article from The Sun that was posted on Twitter last night, and it was the fact that we are apparently close to bringing in Eliuan on a permanent deal. Now, we know that there's a buy clause there. I'm not too sure how much truth is actually in this, but I think everyone throughout the season, as Eliuan has then hit that kind of form, we've known that there was a buy clause, and that the chance of us picking him up on a permanent deal was pretty high. Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I was, unlike other people, I was actually quite happy with what Eliuan was contributing to the team at the beginning of the season. I feel like I could understand and get why people were annoyed because his output wasn't that great prior to him hitting form, but you could see that there was some real quality in there. He just needed a couple of breaks, and I'm happy he's managed to get them and go on the form that he went on. I know he's came a bit off the boil in the last couple of games, but I think it makes sense. I don't think the amount that has been getting bandied around in the last 4 or 5 months is anywhere near as high as what it actually is. So listen, I don't think Hibs are the type of club that would agree a buyout clause that they weren't going to follow through on if they feel like they're not able to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't see Hibs agreeing a 800, 700 grand, buyout clause if they're not happy with either the player or if they're not happy to be able to fork it out. I don't think it's as high as that anyway. So yeah, I think we're comfortable. I think we will probably go through with it. My concern is very similar to the Canberra situation. When we followed through on that, he went off the boil slowly but surely, although he was obviously very good for us at the beginning of his period at Hibs. I'm hoping that's not the same way Eliuan, but that's just my general fear with any loan that gets made permanent.
I think it's a good idea in terms of he knows the club. He's already been here a year. If you let him, well, not let him go, but don't pull the trigger on the buy clause, and then we need to get in someone else. It's notoriously difficult to get players who are skillful, pacey, can score goals consistently for peanuts, basically.
Yeah.
So I would be very happy to see him come back next season on a permanent deal. I think a lot of Hibs fans probably would. It doesn't mean that I don't think that we don't need more additions. I still think we need more additions. We need to kind of clear out, I would say Deadwood, but I don't really think there's an awful lot of Deadwood at Hibs at the moment, to be honest with you. I think we got rid of a lot of it in the summer and in January. I think we just kind of need to be a little bit more strategic, maybe, with our recruitment. I think Elian is a great start, to be honest. And whoever goes in the summer, be it Nisbet, be it Boyle or whoever, Joe Newell, maybe we need to be ready to bring in players. So I would imagine that they've already got a very long list of players that could fill in each position that we could get in. But I don't know. I'm talking shite now. I'm waffling. I'm rambling.
I like to think that although the recruitment area of the club at the moment is maybe going through a bit of a change, I would still like to think that we've been planning in advance. I do fully believe that you should always be at least one window ahead of yourself, preparing for 2 windows ahead, just in case, when you're talking about players that could leave, contract situations, people's contract that may be coming to an end at other clubs. So hopefully,
I think it's a lot easier to plan for a summer window than a January window, though, mind you.
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of it will depend on where we finish as well. Depending on will then depend on the calibre of player that we're able to bring in, especially if we've got Europe. My concern is, again, I still want quality over quantity. Realistically, if we finish in 4th or 5th, it's a big ask to then still get to the European group stage football. I wouldn't want us to be going all out.
We'll just look at Hearts this season, eh?
Yeah, I wouldn't want us, but the thing is, they had guaranteed group stage football, so they needed to get a bigger squad. I wouldn't want us to go out and get a bigger squad for the sake of getting one, and then we get knocked out in the second round or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think that Hearts strengthened enough when it came to that. I don't think they got enough.
I don't think they got enough quality. I think they got enough bodies, but I don't think the quality was there.
It took a toll on their league form at the start of the season, if you remember, and once they got knocked out of Europe, their form started to pick up again. And I know it's kind of they're on a little bit of a downward slide at the moment, and obviously that's got to do with Robbie Nielsen and all that leaving and the unrest at Tynecastle at the moment. But it's a difficult one to kind of strike that balance and strike it right. We might be bringing in a little bit of quality, though. A player that's been linked with us now for, this will be the second window, Johnny Williams from Swindon. I was shocked to realise that he was only 29. It seems like he's been about for decades.
I feel like he was 29 when he played in the Euros, like in 2016 or whatever it was for Wales.
I think he's maybe looked 29 since he was about 19, maybe. I'm not too sure.
Bad paper and like.
Yeah. If you don't know anything about Johnny Williams, he's currently at Swindon. He's a central midfielder, Welsh international. Like Shaun says, he's played at the Euros in 2016. His other clubs will contain Palace, Forest, Sunderland, Cardiff, among some others. He's played a few games in the Premiership. He's played most of his trade in the Championship, though, mind you. Until recently, his injury record hasn't been very good. But last season, he made 40 appearances, and this season already he's made 35 appearances. So he's probably due an injury at some point in the not too distant future.
The first round of Europa League qualifier when it comes to us.
Absolutely. But Johnny Williams is a player that, like I said before, feels like he's been around for ages. I remember him at Palace and having that that ability to kind of unlock defences and pick a really good pass. I think it would be. I know he's in League Two with Swindon at the moment, but if we could get him before he's 30, I would see that as a bit of a coup for us.
I think it would be a great buy. I was obviously a bit sceptical when we were close to buying him in in January. Not from his quality perspective, just more so about his background. But then obviously, when you look at how many games he has actually played in the last 2 years, you're hoping that maybe injury record is behind him. He might also bring out the best in your man, Harry McCurdy, as well. So he does. Johnny Williams gets spoke about in high regard by anyone that's played and trained with him. I remember watching a Wales documentary to do with them, the Euros and the World Cup and stuff, and everyone talks about players like Johnny Williams, not necessarily their playing ability, but the personality that they have as well. And I know Lee Johnson and Ben Kensler are quite big on getting the personality right in the squad as well as the quality. So I think he'd be a great addition to the club, and I think he would do really well in the SPFL.
I think what I've got down Sunderland here was Lee Johnson. Did Lee Johnson have him at Sunderland when he was there?
I don't know if they were there at the same time. I feel like he was at Sunderland a while ago, but I could be wrong. I know Lee Johnson was technically there a while ago as well. So
yeah, but no, listen, I think it would be a good addition. I thought it would have been a good addition in January. Maybe not now that Jake Doyle-Hayes is back and stuff. Maybe there would have been a little bit of an overload in that midfield area. So it leads me to my next question: is that if we get Johnny Williams in, do we need to see some players leaving?
Well, I think if Johnny Williams comes in, Jago's got a year left on his deal because he only signed an 18-month deal. You've then got Joe Newell and you've got Doyle-Hayes, who doesn't want to leave Hibs. That's why he didn't leave in January. So one of them, at least one of them, maybe even two, would need to go, because you're not going to keep four of them happy when realistically only two of them's going to play. Because
and Josh Campbell as well.
Yeah, well, the third position would be played by someone of an attacking force like Josh Campbell, if we don't bring in another kind of 10 type of player or creative midfielder. So it'll be hard to keep all four of them or five of them, if you include Josh, happy, as well as any others. I also wouldn't want Johnny just to be the only one that comes in, because I do feel like we would need it. I feel like we need an explosive, creative midfielder in there as well, especially if we're looking to push for third next season, or even if we are in Europe.
Absolutely. No, I think, like with LAU, it's a good idea on paper. These ideas always seem like good ideas. They don't always work out like that. But if I was to say, listen, let's go and get Johnny Williams, I would, put not all my mortgage, maybe 3/4 of my mortgage on him being a half decent addition for Hibs. I think if anyone else in the league signs him, you go, oh, that's a decent signing, that, without even seeing him playing a game.
It's a kind of signing I feel like we've been missing out on, whereas the likes of Aberdeen and Hearts have maybe went in. I know Robert Snodgrass hasn't worked out for Hearts, but when he first joined, he was flying for them. And
I think everyone thought when...
If you look at like Graham Shinney, that's the type of player, experienced head that comes in, you're like, oh, right, okay, like he'll do a good job for them. I
think when Snodgrass signed for Hearts, we all kind of took a step back and went, that is a really good signing.
Yeah.
And we were, I think at the time, I speak for myself, but I was fairly jealous. I wanted Hibs to sign Snodgrass. I thought he would have been a perfect addition to us. Obviously, now in hindsight, wasn't a great addition for Hearts. Probably would have been exactly the same for Hibs.
Maybe we should get him in now. Get him in now, and then I don't know. We sign him now. Play him at Tynecastle last game of the season. We get a penalty. He takes it. Tap off in the Roseburn. Come on, Hibs. We're on the
Agent
way.
Snoddy, you can return to East Mains.
That puts Hearts down to 6 and puts us into 4th.
I would love it. And finally, a name that's been bandied about a couple of times in the last week or so is Jay Idzes. I'm not too sure if I pronounced that. Pronounce it? I'm all over the gaff today, Sean.
I was going to say you're Jew. You're no Jew. Well, I don't know. Some people might say
I wouldn't say I'm Jew. Megan actually said to me before I came on, she went, "Oh, Janky'll have the Bairn on the podcast when he's born." And I'll go, "Well, if he wants, I suppose. We'll have two. I'll have one on each hip. You know what I mean?"
Breastfeeding well on the pod.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone wants to see me breastfeed the babies.
I don't know. Sure. Maybe there's a reason why we get
someone would pay for that, surely. Eh?
So many people watching on YouTube, particularly just to watch that. There'll be someone out there.
Surely, if a overweight man overweight, hairy man breastfeeding 2 infants is what you're into, then
There's a category for that somewhere.
Give me a shout on Twitter. I'll get back to you and we can talk numbers.
An OnlyFans.
So yeah, Jay Idses, a 22-year-old Dutch centre half, currently plays with Go Ahead Eagles in the
Eredivisie.
That's the one, in Netherlands. According to Transfer Market, his market value is £600,000. He has been in the Eredivisie since 2021. He's made 49 appearances, amassing just over... No, sorry. He's made 49 appearances in the Eredivisie since 2021. He's made 28 this season, amassing over 2,500 minutes. Aberdeen are also looking at him. I don't know if it's Aberdeen are interested, so Hibs are interested, or Hibs are interested, so Aberdeen are interested. I think it would probably be the other way around now, because they're above us, so anyone that they're going for.
Definitely no coming to us then, so congratulations Aberdeen on signing him.
But let's talk about him as if he's coming to Hibs. Would he be a replacement for Fish and Hanlon?
I think he would be. I would like to think that we'll maybe try and pull the trigger on the Fish deal. I think if it's doable, similar to the LAUan, I don't think Hibs would put something in place if there is something there.
I didn't know that we had a buy clause on.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there is, and I don't know. But what I'm saying is, I don't feel like the loans that Hibs have been trying to do this season, I don't feel like they're getting loans for the sake of getting loans. Do you know? Other than like your third choice goalkeeper, like if we get a loan and they're starting most weeks, I feel like
you need to have that
very
option.
Very similar to Kukurevich. I feel like there's a reason behind it. So with Kukurevich, it's building a rapport with the City group and getting connections with them. I feel like we will Fish. I think if we can prove that we can develop a player like that, they might give us some again for another loan or maybe potential to buy with sell-on clauses. LAUan's obviously got a buyout clause. It looks like we'll pull the trigger on that. So I would like to think that if we can try and get Will Fish for another year, at least, or even on a permanent, if that's even doable, which I don't know, we would maybe try and do that. So if we did bring in Jay, then I do feel like it would be alongside Fish and Hanlon. Hanlon will slowly start to phase out in the next couple of years. I know some people have been wanting that to happen for maybe the last 10 years. But yeah, I feel like I can't remember who we were speaking to or who I was speaking to, but I feel like they mentioned about Paul Hanlon obviously coming towards the end in the next couple of years. So realistically, you're wanting to try and get that replacement in now. So you've got someone like Paul Hanlon there as a I don't want to say inspiration, because who's Paul Hanlon inspiring, but
no, but like
how
Lewis Stevenson was meant to be deployed this season. Correct. You can understand that's the plan. I mean, any player that's reaching their mid-30s, I think you need to have a plan, especially if they're players that you're not going to get rid of, you're not going to sell them or put them out to another team. You need to have a plan in place for bringing someone in to slot it in, and I think the sooner you do that, the better, because as we've seen, when Josh Doig left and we brought in Chibraya, obviously Chibraya's not set the header on fire as we'd kind of hoped, so he's having to now take a wee back seat in the sidelines, and Lewis Stevenson's having to come in. So you don't want that to happen in every position that you're trying to fill. You know what I mean? You want to kind of ease the player in and make sure that they're ready to then crack on. But you need to remember that we've still got Rocky Bushiri to come back next season. We've got Mikey Devlin who can play in there, who might get a contract until I can't see it, but
yeah,
he might get an extended deal. But this Jay Idses, I'd never heard of him before until I seen the article linking us to him. 600,000, I said. Do you think that's a waste of money for a 22-year-old with fewer than 50 top flight appearances, or is it just the way that football's going at the moment?
I think it's the way that football is going at the moment. I'm trying to find something. So my question to you would be, it worked for, well, not really a question, Duke at Aberdeen.
Yeah. But
He
it's
paid
not worked for Tavares at Hibs.
exactly, but we didn't pay 600 grand for Tavares, did we? So
How much
whereas
did Aberdeen pay for Duke?
apparently, if rumours are to believe, about 600 grand, which is
Really?
why we didn't pay it. It was either 600 or 800.
Was he
is
meant
what
to
I
be
heard
coming to us like?
for Duke. Well, we pulled the trigger on Tavares instead. So 600 grand is what I've heard Aberdeen paid for Duke, and he had only played for Benfica B, and again, that still wasn't over 50 appearances for the B team, never mind the first team. So no, I don't think it's worth pulling the trigger 600 grand for a 22-year-old with less than 50 appearances. But I guess to contradict myself, I guess it depends on the talent, and it depends on how good that they're potentially going to be. Obviously, Duke is flying. They'll no doubt sell him, or potentially sell him in the summer and get a good fee for him. So it can work either way. Whereas we've paid quite a bit of money for, let's say, Melkerson, for example, not as much as 600 grand, and it's not quite worked out at the moment. Obviously, I hope that it does work out for him, but it just goes to show that it comes down to the quality of the recruitment, not necessarily as much emphasis on the quality of the player, because you want to be bringing in the best player possible.
Absolutely.
If your recruitment is good enough, the player will already be of a good enough standard where you could justify paying something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. Eredivisie as well, I feel like, is same or similar kind of physicality to the Scottish game. I think sometimes when you bring in these players from abroad, they struggle to adapt to the way that the game's played over here. I think the Eredivisie is a similar-ish league. The guy, he looks like a big fella, this Jay Idses, so he'd maybe be able to compete with big fuckers like Curtis Main or Kevin Van Veen, whoever he's going to be playing up against. Listen, I think we need to strengthen in that position on park. I think it's probably an area that Hibs are definitely looking at. Whether this is bullshit or not, I mean, you just don't really know. But it's nice to have a wee rumour going about.
I think we're taking steps to recruit in the right areas. I think that was clear with bringing Will Fish in the first place, and then getting Jago in the summer. For years, we've been calling out for a Jago type in midfield and a Will Fish type at centre half. We've brought them in. Yes, they've been ropey at times, and their form hasn't been great at times, but they have had very, very good performances as well. So I think from a recruitment perspective, they're maybe stepping stone signings to maybe get us to where we need to be, and then we can pull the trigger on a better quality player on a permanent deal as well, if we use Will Fish, for example. So it's clear that the recruitment maybe hasn't been as bad as people have made it out to be. And as long as we continue to make strides in the right direction, we're clearly identifying the right areas. It's just a case of getting the right player.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, let's wrap it up with our listener questions.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Okay, Shaun, we have got just a few questions this week because we kind of decided last minute that we were doing this today. So we apologise to everyone who usually sends in a question. We've not been able to, if you've not been able to send one in time, but we will answer in great detail the questions that we've been sent. First up is John. He asks, of course, what is for dinner and your thoughts on the new Hibs First membership?
I will either be having, this is completely two ends of the scale here, I'll either be having salmon and rice for dinner in some form of veg somewhere in there.
Sushi? Is it going to be a sushi style, or are you going to cook it?
Chloe will be in the kitchen making it, so
is she going to cook it?
She's a belter in the kitchen, so I'll leave it to her. Or on the other end of the scale, if it's maybe me that gets left to make it, it'll probably be burgers and chips. So
you try to tell me that every time you come on here and you say that you're having this elaborate fancy dinner, that it's not actually you that's cooking it, it's actually Chloe.
I hardly ever cook. if I'm
Really?
honest. Yeah,
Are you not very good at cooking?
I'm not as good as her. I can whip up a good dish on certain things, but if I wanted a higher quality meal, it wouldn't be myself.
You would ask quality to it.
Yeah.
Is she like a chef for a living, or what does she do?
Not a chance. She's just decent. She's just decent in the kitchen. So.
And to be fair, I'm actually getting a wee bit better in the kitchen as well. But I don't know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Are you still living on takeaways?
Basically, aye.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
last night we had my mum and dad up, and we got a Pizza Hut because Pizza Hut's superior to Domino's. And Megan, because it was my birthday on Monday, my mum and dad came up yesterday, and we were like, oh, well, we'll all just get a takeaway. And I was like, oh, fine. I said to Megan, I was like, oh, Ken, what I fancy a Pizza Hut. And she went, oh, okay. How are you not getting a Domino's? I went, well, Pizza Hut's actually, it's actually better, Megan. And she was going, no, it's not. And then after she'd heard it, she went, Ken, well, that was actually really nice, eh? I was like, I tell you.
You said that was better.
I tell you. I think Pizza Hut's one of these ones that you have it once in a while and you're like, oh, I should have that more often.
Yeah.
But you don't. Same with KFC. I'm like that with KFC as well. But I don't know what I'm going to have for my tea tonight. I don't actually know what's in the fridge. I would imagine that we need to go and pick some stuff up, but we have been kind of smashing the takeaways recently. There's a really good chippy up my way in Lonehead called Mario's that does an absolute banging pakora pizza. And oh my God, it's so good. It's unreal.
Yeah, that tomorrow. You can't have pizza 2 days in a row, so.
I can't have pizza 2 days in a row, but I could also just get a mixed kebab.
True. You know what I mean? That's even better for you.
I don't know. Maybe I'll come round to yours and get some burgers or salmon. I'm not too sure.
Depends on what we're having. I'll let you know what we're having first.
All right. Well, I'll let you know what time we'll be up.
If it's burgers, then feel free. I know you'd rather a burger than salmon.
I like a bit of salmon, you know. I like a bit of smoked salmon. Smoked salmon? It needs to be cooked though, like not raw, not like sushi.
Obviously, aye.
With a bit of teriyaki sauce.
Oh, now you're talking.
Again, what was good with a bit of salmon is a baked tatty as well.
Oh, really?
My mum used to do that when I lived at my mum's. She used to put on salmon and a baked tatty, some teriyaki sauce. Stupendous. Brilliant. Right, on to John's next part of the question, the Hibs First membership. So I believe he's talking about the £50 buy-in, and it's not the exact same as an away season ticket, but it's a similar kind of premise where you get first priority on, you know, Celtic, Rangers and Hearts games away. And I think
my question, is that a guarantee obligation to get those tickets? Or
no, I think it's a £50 buy-in, but instead of like how it is with the away season ticket where you've got a payment run and it comes out for each game regardless of if you're going or not, I think you just get the priority and you're able to choose, but it's then a £50 buy-in. I think it's actually a good idea. I think it's a great idea.
Any issues? I'll probably be moaning about it next season.
Can I get a ticket
for tiny, but I don't see an issue with it at the moment. I will no doubt change my mind when I can't get to Tynecastle.
No, but hang on, has nobody complained about the away season ticket? So
no, I know that was going to be my point. The fact that if you're not going to get it, just don't get it. You don't need to moan about it. There's obviously an avenue for the club to put it out there, and there's obviously a market available for people where they're going to purchase it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no obligation to get every single ticket, and you can buy in, and then it just gives you priority to certain games. Well, it gives you priority to all the games, but you don't need to buy all the tickets. Is what I'm saying. Then yeah, I don't see what the issue is. I don't know if it's capped or anything.
I think it is capped at the same capacity that the away season ticket is. I think that's maybe about 200, 250.
Aye. So like again, I don't see an issue with it. Will there be 200 people that'll sign up to it? Yes, there will be. So get involved if you want it, and if you don't, shut your mouth.
Fair dues, mate. Fair dues. Next up is Gav, and he says, if we win on Saturday, is that Europe guaranteed? And who are your top targets for the summer and can only be from the Premiership?
Well, no, I don't think a win against St Mirren will completely guarantee us Europe, because I do feel like St Mirren will come up with a surprise. As for the thing is, right, I'm not going to give you someone in the Premiership to sign, because I don't feel like it happens that often where one club in the Premiership, other than Celtic and Rangers, will fork out a heavy fee for someone at another club.
Or Aberdeen will buy someone from Motherwell or something.
I can't see there being many top quality players available that are out of contract that will stay in the league if they're out of contract.
That's not the question, Sean.
No, I know, but I'm just providing an answer. So if there's top quality players that are out of contract that are in the league at the moment, there's a reason why they're out of contract and not agreed with a Hibs or a Hearts or an Aberdeen. Probably because they're looking to go down south and get more money. And I can't see Hibs forking out 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 grand for someone that plays for St Mirren or Dundee United or Motherwell.
I'd take Mark O'Hara.
I would take him. I would also probably take Jamie McGrath from Dundee United as well. But
Ken, who else I'd like? I wouldn't mind that boy. He scored at the weekend actually against Rangers. Jota. I'd like him.
I think we could maybe get a wee deal for him done, you know.
Or Greg Taylor. Ken what? Let's be a wee bit more realistic. Let's get Greg Taylor in the door.
Yeah, it's really realistic. I agree.
I think that
Morelos is out of contract in the summer. So is Ryan Ken. I think he would look good on our bench.
Imagine Morelos signing for Hibs. Imagine Morelos and Pochus in the same team. I'd piss myself. Morelos went and signed for Watford.
You just know for a fact they would actually be best mates, eh? You just wouldn't be one of those partnerships, eh? It'd be brilliant.
Buffalo and Porto. Yeah. Top targets for the summer. I think it's difficult to say really, because a club like Hibs doesn't have the buying power to go out and get whoever we want. So it's a difficult one to say. But if any of the listeners have got any top targets, let us know. Tweet us and let us know who your top targets are.
That's not
next
Van
up. Eh?
It's not Van Veen.
It's not Van Veen because he's away to Aberdeen, isn't he? To be fair, I'm quite happy with Van Veen going to Aberdeen because it sounds great, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know how much it would cost, but
I think Van Veen is one of these ones that shines at a Motherwell, a St Mirren, Kelly, Ross County, someone like that. But as soon as they make the step up to Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts,
it's not as easy to sit and say, oh, he scored 22 goals for Motherwell. If you chuck him in that Celtic team, he gets twice as many chances. So he's going to score fucking 50 goals. Like, it just doesn't work like that. So
he's not Erling Haaland.
I think he'll flop. If I'm honest, he's having a great season. Fair play to the boy. He's doing brilliant in a overall poorer side in the league. But that happens every 2 or 3 seasons. And then how consistent does that ever, those players are never consistent.
Yeah, exactly. File him under Michael Higdon, Michael Anton Courier, players like that.
Cult heroes is what you're saying.
Kenny Duka.
Oh, what a player.
Players like that. So Callum Neal's up next and he says, how important would a win on Saturday be going into the quote-unquote bigger games of the season?
I do think it's a must-win, like we said earlier on. I think it'll set us up really well for the Aberdeen game. We don't want to be going into the Aberdeen game. Yes, we need to win the Aberdeen game as well, I feel, but we don't want to be going into Aberdeen needing to win it. And we want to try and keep it in our hands as best as we can by winning the games that we have in front of us. And that obviously starts on Saturday. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. I concur, Sean. I completely concur. Jack Hibbs asks, would 2 wins out of the 5 secure Europe? And how big of a transfer window will Hibs need as the loanees will be returning to their clubs? I think 2 wins, if they're against St Mirren and Hearts, would probably do us, as long as Celtic win a cup.
Yeah, I feel inclined to agree with that, although it just depends on how the Old Firm play against the other sides as well. I do think we're maybe going to need 7 points not to guarantee European football, because fifth will guarantee if Celtic win it, and I think 2 wins would do that. But I want to get fourth. Do you know what I mean? I want to get to that extra round, because if we get to that extra round, we're already one step closer to group stage football, and I would.
We're not going to get either way, Sean. Let's not.
That's what I'm saying. I would want to get as close to that as possible. So.
Listen, we're not about negativity here on the Ramble. We're all about the positivity. But our recent record in Europe suggests that we won't really get past.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know, though. You never know. Let's keep the faith. And finally, we've got a question from Billy Sterling, and he asks, hold on, let me find it. He says, what would you do if your child said they wanted to support another team? Genuinely a fear of mine. Now, Billy's got twins.
Right.
And they are maybe around the same age as Myla, my wee girl, about just over one, I think. I think they're maybe one and a half. Maybe Billy, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think if either my son or my daughter came to me and said, listen, I want to support a different team, then we've got a wee black storage box in the garden that we keep stuff in. So I would say we can go and sleep in there until you come out of this phase. That would be, I think, in all seriousness, if they can do any sport they want, but if they want to support a team that's not Hibs, then I'll not take them to the football. Like, I'm not taking them.
They can go their eye. They can make their own way there and stuff.
I think I would Celtic, or I'm not taking them to go and watch Rangers. So if they want to watch football, they'll be going to Easter Road. The
benefit I personally would have is that my family and Chloe's family are just all Hibs. There isn't anyone else. There's no Hearts. There's no Celtic. There's no Rangers or anything.
That's like us as well.
But I understand that, like, there's mates of mine that have either had kids or are yet to have kids, where they're maybe Hibs fans and their partner's family, maybe not them, but their partner's family are maybe Celtic fans, for example. So I can understand when you're competing with Hibs and Celtic, you didn't really stand a chance. For me, I'm a firm believer, if the dad's involved in the family and there's no family politics or anything, then you should be trying to support who your dad supports, regardless of local area, so to speak.
That's a take, Sean. You should. So is that your opinion? Then you need to support who your dad supports.
Well, if I moved up north, right, or if I moved up north and I was in Inverness, I would bring my kid up to be a Hibs supporter. I wouldn't expect him to support Inverness. Yeah, we could go along to Inverness games and stuff like that, because it's just a local bit of football. But that's a big shout, to be honest. If I moved away, which I would love to live somewhere else in the country personally. If that was to happen and I had kids, I wouldn't be bringing my kid up to be a Stirling supporter, like a Stirling Uni supporter,
let's take a look at it in terms of, if you didn't support football and then you went up to Inverness. Yep. You didn't support football, but you didn't have a football team, but you didn't mind, and you kind of knew about it, and you moved up to Inverness and you had a child and they said that they wanted to support Celtic or they wanted to support Rangers. Would you be saying no? That's a different conversation.
If football is not involved in my life and I was not a football supporter, or I didn't have a dedicated team myself, then I would be expecting my child to support the team where they've grew up. But because I'm heavily not involved in football, but a big supporter of football, I'm a firm. But that's what I'm saying. If the dad is involved in football or has a team already and is involved in the child's life and the upbringing of said child,
yeah,
and they don't necessarily need to be with the mother, because shout out to all the single parents out there, like, they can do what they want. I know
you're getting a can of worms here, Sean.
But my point being that if the dad's involved, then they should support who the dad supports.
Right.
And I would like to think that the dad is supporting a team that is either part of their family allegiance or part of their local side.
Right. We got there in the end, eh?
You made it more complicated by trying to pretend that I don't like football. Because if I don't like football, I'd be expecting my son or daughter to
Like what you like,
local side.
or like what you like netball or something, Pokemon or whatever you like.
I do not like netball. I would just like to go on record and confirm that I am not a netball supporter. However, if you do like netball and you do support a netball team, great. I hope you
The
have a great
netball
time.
ramble.
Netball ramble. Let's get it going. There's a market.
Oh no, I think Billy's a wee bit concerned because he's originally from up north. Billy, I can't remember exactly where you're from, but I think he's got a lot of his wife's family are from Dundee, and
Right.
I think some of his wife's family have bought the Twins some Dundee stuff or Dundee United stuff. I can't remember. So I think that's maybe he's sent it as a joke, but maybe there's a wee bit of seriousness behind it.
We've definitely taken the answer seriously as well.
Yeah,
so
well, I mean,
that helps him.
Billy, all you need to do is then show the missus this section of the Hibs Ramble and get her to show the family or your family, whoever it is that's buying your bairns stuff that's not Hibs. And listen.
However, that being said, just to add fuel to my point, it doesn't necessarily need to be the dad that is, the main person involved in football. Do you know what I mean? Because there are loads of families out there, but I know where the
fucking hell, Shaun,
is heavily involved in football. So
this was meant to be a quick pod as well.
You told me to elaborate on the answers to all our questions, so that is what I'm doing. But no,
you're just trying to cover your back so that no one comes after you.
If either of the parents are heavily supporting of a football team, that's who the child should be supporting. Or the.
But what if, right? And I'm going to open another can of worms.
You're having a go at me, and you're adding.
Right, you and Chloe have a baby, right?
Right.
And let's say for the point of argument, I know Chloe's a Hibs fan, but let's say for the point of argument, Chloe is a Hearts fan, right? And has got a season ticket at Hearts, goes every week.
Scum.
And all our family are Hearts fans. And I'm sorry, Chloe's family, if you're listening to this. I know you're not Hearts fans, but I'm just saying.
I tell you what, you don't need to be worried about. In fact, yeah, no, you do. Her mum and dad will come for you if you're insinuating that they, in any universe, are supporting Hearts.
This is a hypothetical universe. So say that you're all Hibs and Chloe's family's all Hearts and season ticket, die hard and stuff. Who does the child support?
I'm involved with the child's upbringing, so therefore.
I know, but if I don't even want to say Chloe anymore because I don't want to get myself in trouble. If both parents are season ticket holders and go every week home and away to two different teams, who does the child support?
I think it then comes down to the child.
Basketball.
They're all
basketball.
Rugby. Cricket.
That'll be it. Well, listen, I think we should cut this short because we could be here for now.
We're getting involved in family politics. We're hypothetical family politics here, so we certainly do not envy your situation, Billy, and we hope you get it resolved soon. If you think about it, the child will have less pain and misery if they support Hibs rather than a Dundee side. Yeah, that's true. And also, if it comes to blows, then you can use your brand new Hibs Ramble mug that you won in our giveaway to smack someone over the head. Simple as. We don't condone the violence, but if you want to use a Hibs Ramble mug, this lovely one here, you can. And then you can DM us, and Liam will tell you where he bought them, and then you can buy another one and pretend like it never happened.
Absolutely, sounds good to me. I think we should end here, Shaun, before we say anything to offend
anyone. Before you add any more hypothetical stories to this question. Jeez, oh man.
Right, okay then. No worries. Listen, thank you to everyone for listening to this, what was meant to be a shorter episode of the Hibs Ramble, but it's ended up being a longer episode of the Hibs Ramble because Shaun just keeps talking.
Nothing to do with Liam trying to bring out hypothetical situations to do with parenting and family politics.
Well, yeah, I'll let everyone know what team my parents grew up to support as well. So.
And if anything that was discussed on today's Ramble podcast has affected you, please do not reach out to the Ramble.
We're so sorry. But yeah, listen, thanks very much for listening, and we'll catch you after the St Mirren game. Bye bye.
Yes.